And we're back. And I forgot to say thanks for the shirt. Yeah. Not sure if you noticed, but we're matchy today because my friend bought me a shirt when she was out and about on the state streets.
So I'm going to tell you real quick that Ray Gun, we buy a lot of Ray Gun t-shirts, and there's a store on State Street in Madison. Anyway, I've got a free shipping that I'm going to post to our Two Tipsy Teacher Facebook and Instagram page so that you can get free shipping.
Because a lot of you have commented on some of the t-shirts that we wear, and they're not ones that we've come up with. They're actually ones that we found or bought online or from Ray Gun.
From other places.
It just got a plethora of options.
Right. Yeah. All right.
So back to the funding issue, my friends.
We're back. Part two,
a little more recent history of the funding issue. So in today's world, we've added those federal funds. So our schools are indeed funded by some federal grants, some federal monies, still funded by state money, still funded by local monies. And we can't forget that there's also some miscellaneous in districts. So those would be things like your bake sale, your PTO. Some districts have an education foundation that will provide grants for programs or classrooms or materials or need. So we're getting money in a variety of different ways. Now, that money can't always be used any way we want it to. There are some restrictions there, so that does complicate things. But a piece that's really, really important to keep in mind, in addition to not fully funding our schools at the 2/3% that was promised, not fully funding special education ever. Special education has yet to be fully funded. And that public law was enacted in 1973 or 5.
I thought it was 3.
I think it might be 3. Yep, 1973. So we have not fully funded the needs of our students who require special education services. But let's talk about inflation, friends.
Yeah.
So since 2010, the rate that we increase our public school spending has not kept up with the rate of inflation. So even if there have been increases, those increases are eaten up by the costs, the high costs of materials. And it costs money to run a school for a variety of different reasons that we'll perhaps touch on at another point. Or maybe you don't need to know that. But it does cost money to run a public school.
Right.
In the past, I think it was 18 years.
18 years.
Right here, so it'll be 18 years that we haven't even touched the rate of inflation, correct? We haven't even reached that. So it's been going on longer than that, but it has been most impactful since 2010. Because if you remember that number, it's kind of magical about when some of this shit started going down with Act 10. So there's a connection, my friends. Those dots we keep telling you about, start connecting them.
Yeah, connect the dots.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, again, nobody is throwing money at public schools. Public schools are not being overfunded. They are being underfunded. And that's intentional. And it is impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the ways that we know that it's impacting our students, even impacting our communities, right? There's been a record number of operational referendums throughout our state, a record number of people. An operational referendum, another thing we'll talk about at some point, allows schools to continue to operate. And keep in mind, folks, schools have already stretched their budgets as much as they can before they go to a referendum, because it is not an easy task. It is a daunting task. It is a process that takes time, and it takes time and energy away from what's important, our students. Now, we need the money to operate, but we shouldn't have to be wasting the time to go to a referendum so frequently because we're not getting funded, right? And the fact that so many communities are passing these referendums should tell you that the majority of folks support strong public schools.
But here's just a side note to that, which, I mean, because this has been happening, our smaller schools and even larger schools with lots of schools within that district are closing. And so that's where people are like, what? They're going to close our public schools? Yeah, jackass. This is why we're saying that schools need to be funded, because you might love your school, but if you're not willing to pay for it or not willing to elect someone who's willing to fight for it, then they're going to close your school. Yeah, it's a real possibility.
And they're not making those decisions lightly.
No.
And they are not easy decisions to make. And they're not a decision that's made overnight.
No.
Okay. Keep going. Okay, there might be 3 clips, my friend, because we just got frozen out.
Yeah,
I think there might be some powers that be there. So we were talking about referendums. We were talking about schools closing. We were talking about some of the impacts and some of the other pieces that are a little misleading around school funding. And I think one that's important to address, because we hear this a lot, but you are getting more money. There's my namaste breathing again.
I know.
So that's correct. They are increasing the spending, but what you need to understand, my friends, is that is misleading because they have decreased it so much that any little bit of an increase that we get, well, yeah, technically that's an increase. That's like me saying, hey, I'll give you $5 a week for your allowance. And then a month later, I can only afford $1 a week. And then a month later, I'm going to double your pay to $2 a week because I can afford that
still
now.
in the hole,
I have
everyone.
doubled your pay. I have increased your pay, but I have not increased it to the level where it was functioning prior. So be careful when you hear those terms from your elected officials that we are increasing. And oftentimes they will do something that I've heard described as a bait and switch. They will propose something knowing full well they are not going to support it. Right? So it looks like we are in favor of this, and it gets buried somewhere, and it comes up again, and they decrease the amount they had promised in the first place. And nobody said, well, I shouldn't say nobody, because there are plenty of people who speak out against it, but not enough.
But not enough people know and understand that because it's all in the weeds. And unless you're on top of it, you're not going to know. And the regular Joe Schmo in your community, even us teachers, sometimes we don't know all the things that are happening day to day in the legislature. We don't know all of those things. We don't know what was taken out of a bill and what's added in. We don't know all those things.
You know who knows it? WEAC, Wisconsin Education Association Council, and NEA, your National Education Association.
Yeah,
that is a huge part of their job. That is a huge reason to support your union. Well, they're the ones advocating. They are the ones at the Capitol advocating for these funds, advocating for these mandated programs to be funded, advocating for our schools to get their resources that they need to serve all of the children that we are required to serve and to meet the mandates. Because there are mandates out there, people. The recent one was at Act 20. Is that the reading one?
I think it is.
Is it Act 20? So it's a mandated curriculum, which involves purchasing and training and implementing. And guess what? Zero funding to implement a mandated program.
Now, would that happen in any other business or any other entity?
Probably not.
No, you don't. You don't say you have to do this, and then you don't give them the resources or the funds to do it,
or the training,
or the training.
Yeah,
here you go. Just figure it out.
Yeah,
no, that's
you have to do this. We're not going to reimburse you for it. So that's a problem. So it is so hard to just break this down into these simple little pieces because there are so many moving parts to it. And I'm going to bring up vouchers again because they are a huge piece. So even though we're giving this money to public schools, yay, let me remind you that before the public schools get that money, what gets pulled off the top? Any monies that are going to your voucher schools, your choice schools. And as I mentioned, in our small district last year alone, $1 million pulled off the top of what was promised to our public school district.
Yeah, so just think about that in your own district and, maybe ask those questions.
Or look it up. Public information, people. Everything's out there. If you know how to find it, use it.
And if you know about it, then reach out to your legislators and tell them that that's not okay. I mean, you have to advocate. We would like you to advocate as well. Like we'll do our job and we'll keep you informed, but also like the more of us that speak out about this, I mean, that's the democracy, everyone. This is how it all works.
Well, and to the folks who keep throwing out public schools are failing, your reading scores are failing, you suck, you this, you cat ladies.
Right.
Okay, maybe the cat ladies aren't going to change their minds, but think about what we're saying. Because what you're hearing and what you're regurgitating, one, it's not helpful. It's harmful. It's not helping public schools. It's not helping your student. It's not helping your community. And if you can take the time to kind of understand what you're hearing, maybe that will help you better advocate for the needs of your child and for your own needs, right? I think one last thing we want to talk about is the zero increase, the $0 that are being provided for general aid. So there's a lot of different categories. Some monies that we get, we are regulated or I can't think of the word I want, but you have to spend it on certain programs, certain issues, certain students, certain this. Then there's this general aid fund where you can use it to support all of your general education programs. Guess how much we're getting? 0. And I believe that's for 2 years.
Yeah.
Correct?
It is a 2-year.
0.
Yep.
So 0 is not even an increase over the 0 that you would be getting prior, right? And that limits, further limits a district's ability. So honestly, if you take away nothing else, we'd like you to take away the consideration that it's time to end this cycle. It is time to end the cycle of inadequate funding. And it's time to follow through on that promise that we made our students how many years ago?
Well, right. So let's be fair. Let's have the state, fund 2/3.
The money's there.
And have the taxpayers pay 1/3. Right now it's like flip-flopped.
And that would be a little savings in your taxpayer dollars, which I know is important to people.
So just the state needs to do its job.
Yep.
Bottom line.
Support your public schools, my friends.
All right.
And with that,
we are the 2
tipsy,
teachers.
non-cat owning teachers.